This is Fitness Blender's Advanced Lower Abs Workout. For this routine, you're going to need a Physioball, an exercise mat, and a suspension trainer, or a pull-up bar. This workout consists of 2 rounds of 8 different exercises. It lasts about 15 minutes total. If you're ready, let's go ahead and get started with round number 1. We're going to begin with the reverse crunches. So get down on the mat, lying on your back. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now you want to start with those legs directly above those hips, those hands down by those hips, palm down for a little bit of stability and support. Now nice and slow, you're going to contract those abs, rolling those hips in towards you. As you do, you're going to extend those legs out a little bit more so they always stay straight up and down. But the main thing you want to focus on is curling those hips in towards those shoulders. So you want to feel like you're actually trying to pull those hips up off the ground as high as possible and rolling them in towards your shoulders at the same time. This is your last one right here. Go ahead and let that one relax. We're moving on to the next one. This is a hanging windmill crunch. Now you're going to want to get those suspension straps out or a chin-up bar. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now you want to hang with those legs straight down in front of you. Then nice and slow, swing them and crunch them up to the side, trying to keep your shoulders straight forward. Bring those legs directly in front of that face, all the way across down the opposite side. Pause at the bottom, and then bring them right back up. Now the key is to try to get as large of a circle on these as you can. When you first start doing these, you might not be strong enough to get them above your hips even, but as you get stronger, you want to get those legs higher and higher and focus on trying to pull those hips up towards those shoulders the entire time. We're almost done. So one more back around, and let it relax. Alright, the next one is just a regular toe touch crunches. We're going to do a little bit of a form change on this one, but they're pretty much the same thing as a traditional toe touch crunch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now with a regular toe touch crunch, those legs are straight up. You're going to come up and try to touch those toes. Now to make it a little bit more dominant on that lower ab, you want to actually try to lift those hips at the same time. So as you crunch up, those hips are going to kind of come up just a little bit. You can kind of see while I'm doing this, my hips kind of come up just a tiny bit. You're not going to get a whole lot of range of motion, but the more you try to lift them, the more you're going to focus on those lower abs. We're almost done. It's your last one right here. And let it relax. Alright, moving on to the next one. This is the Physioball crunch. This does a really good job of focusing on those lower abs as well as the upper abs. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. You're going to wrap over top of that Physioball as much as you possibly can. Those hands straight up above your head for the harder version. As you crunch forward like you would with a traditional crunch, you also want to squeeze those hips up nice and high. That's the key to getting those lower abdominal muscles, to try to get as much range of motion, as much motion out of those hips as possible, kind of folding them in towards those shoulders. So as you go down, wrap around that ball as much as you can, drop those hips, drop those shoulders. Then as you come up, feel like you're trying to fold in half, pulling those hips up towards those shoulders at the same time as pulling those shoulders nice and high into that crunch. We're almost done, just a few more. And here's your last one right here. And let it relax. Alright, next one's the hanging knee tuck crunches. Get those straps out again or using that pull-up bar. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Now you want to draw those knees up to that chest as high as you possibly can. But to get those lower abs involved even more, you want to actually, at the top of that range of motion, curl those hips up towards those shoulders as best you can. So like all the other exercises, the more you get those hips to curl, the more you're going to get into those lower abs. So extend those legs all the way out straight. Then nice and slow, pull those knees up to those shoulders. And then roll those hips up as high as you possibly can, trying to get a little extra range of motion out of it. And that's what's going to get those lower abs. Just keep that motion going, nice and slow under control. Make sure you don't swing. You don't want to use any momentum on this whatsoever. This should be 100% muscle strength. Now just keep that motion going, nice and slow under control. Like I said before, focusing on getting those hips to roll up as high as you possibly can. We're almost done, just a few more. Just have 2 left. Last one, nice tight squeeze. And let it relax. Alright, moving on to the next one. This is a Jackknife crunch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Laying flat out with those hands over your head and those feet straight out from those hips. You're going to bring those hands and feet off the ground just a couple of inches. Nice and slow, squeeze them straight up over top of those hips or those shoulders respectively. Then nice and slow, squeeze them up nice and high, squeezing those feet and hands together, lifting those hips and lifting those shoulders up off the ground as high as you can. Very, very similar to that toe touch crunch. You're just adding that extra motion through those arms and those legs to get a little bit more work out of your abdominal muscles and those hip flexors. Just keep this motion going nice and slow under control. Really focus on those lower abs by trying to get those hips up off the ground as high as you possibly can. Just 2 more repetitions. It's your last one right here. Squeeze them up nice and tight and let it relax. Alright, this next one is the Physioball Hyperextension Crunch. You're going to need some extra weight on this one to help hold those feet down to get the leverage you need to make this one hard enough. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Slip those feet underneath some dumbbells or the back of a couch, just something that's heavy enough that's not going to let those feet come up off the ground. Place that Physioball on the lower part of that back or even on those hips. And then slowly wrap down over top of it, stretching those abdominal muscles out as much as you can. Then crunch back up as high as possible without letting those hips move. So you want to keep that ball and those hips completely stationary. All that motion is just coming through the top of that body, crunching up as high as you possibly can, getting as much range of motion out of it as possible. This is your last one right here, and let it relax. Alright, moving on to the next one. This is the knee tuck crunch. This is your last exercise for this round. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Placing those hands just behind those hips, palm down on the ground. Extend those legs out, hovering just a few inches off the ground. Then tuck them in nice and close and crunch those shoulders forward as you do so. Once you extend those legs back out, you're going to tip that chest back again, trying to flatten that back out as best you can. Then bring those knees right back in again as you crunch forward towards those legs. Just keep that motion going nice and slow under control. Get a nice tight squeeze at the top each time and trying to extend as much as possible as you put those legs out. Just 2 more repetitions. It's your last one. And let it relax. Alright, go ahead and pause here if you need to. Otherwise, I'm going to start right back into round number 2. Let's begin again with the reverse crunches. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Legs straight up above those hips, trying to press those hips straight up in the air, trying to get a nice tight curl through those lower abs, pulling those hips up towards those shoulders. Just keep that motion going, nice and controlled, making sure you're getting those hips up as high as you possibly can, pulling them towards those shoulders as much as possible. Just 2 more. And let it relax. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the hanging windmill crunches. Remember, you need the straps or a pull-up bar for this one. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Legs come up and out to the side, all the way around the opposite side. Pause at the bottom, then bring them back around. Never let those feet touch the ground through the whole range of motion. Try and get those hips up as high as possible at the top. Just keep that going under control, nice and slow. Remember, you don't want any kind of swing going on whatsoever. So the slower you go, the better it's going to be. So 1 more in each direction. Last one back around. And let it relax. Alright, let's move on to the next one, the toe touch crunches. Laying flat down on your back for this one, legs straight up above those hips. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Crunching up towards those toes nice and high, but at the same time you want to try to lift those hips, pushing those feet up as well. Trying to get as much range of motion from those lower abs as possible. Almost done, just a couple more. And let it relax. All right, go ahead and grab that Physioball. We're doing the Physioball crunch next. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Wrap over that ball really nice and low. Drop those hips, drop those shoulders. Then force those hips and shoulders up at the same time, crunching forward like you would with a traditional crunch, trying to get as much range of motion out of those hips and those shoulders as possible. Almost done, just two more. So your last one right here, nice tight squeeze, and let it relax. All right, moving on to the next one, the hanging knee tuck crunches. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Pulling those knees up nice and high towards those shoulders. Once you get up to the top, you also want to try to roll those hips up as high as you possibly can as well, trying to get as much range of motion out of as you can. Really focusing on trying to work those lower abs by pulling those hips up. Almost done, just two left. Last one, nice tight squeeze, and let it relax. All right, moving on to the next one. This is the Jackknife crunch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Hands and feet hovering just off the ground. Pull them both up directly over top of your hips and shoulders. Then crunch it up nice and high like you would for a traditional toe touch crunch. Trying to get those hips and those shoulders up off the ground at the same time. Almost done, just two more. And here's your last one right here. Nice tight squeeze. And let it relax. All right, moving on to the next one. This is the Physioball Hyperextension crunch. Remember, you need those dumbbells or maybe the back of a couch to hold those feet down. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Lock those feet down nice and tight. Roll over that ball so that ball's on that lower back or those hips. Stretch out over it as much as you can. And then a nice tight crunch, pulling those shoulders up towards those hips. Remember, the main thing you want to do is keep that Physioball and those hips completely stationary. All that motion is just coming through that torso. Crunching up as tight as you possibly can. Really trying to round forward as much as possible. We're almost done. Just a couple more. One left. Nice tight squeeze. And let it relax. All right, moving on to the last one. This is the knee tuck crunch. Go ahead and get ready. And begin. Hovering on that tailbone, those hands just behind those hips for a little bit of support and balance. Extend those legs out as you extend your chest back, flattening your back as much as you can. Then tuck those knees in nice and tight, crunching forward, getting a nice tight squeeze on those abdominal muscles. Almost done, just 2 left. It's your last one, and let it relax. All right, you just completed Fitness Blender's advanced lower ab workout routine.